Hi everyone, good afternoon, especially to my instructor, Mr. Rowie C. Sumaoy, good afternoon sir, and to my classmates, good afternoon. I am Kat Marie Cuartero Lopio, and BTVT Ed Electrical Technology student in SDSSU Cantilan Campus. So our instructor gave us a topic that we need to make a report of it. My topic is fuse and circuit breaker. Fuse is an electrical safety device that operates to provide overcurrent protection of an electrical circuit. Its essential component is a metal wire or strip that melts when too much current flows through it, thereby stopping or interrupting the current. Short circuits, overloading, mismatched loads, or device failure are the prime or some of the reasons for fuse operation. When a damaged live wire makes contact with a metal case that is connected to the ground, a short circuit will form and the fuse will blow. As you see, at the top is the normal operation, and below is when there are short circuits. Below looks like the fuses are not connected. Fuses can be divided into two main categories according to the type of input supply voltage: AC fuses and DC fuses. DC fuse opens or breaks the circuit when the excessive current flows through it. The only difficulty with a DC fuse is that the arc produced by the direct current very difficult to extend because there are no zero current flows in the circuit. Under the DC fuse are the following. Cartridge fuse. This is the most common type of fuse. The fuse element is encased in a glass envelope that is terminated by metal caps. The fuse is placed in an appropriate holder. Since the glass envelope is clear, it is easy to visually determine if the fuse is blown. Automotive fuses. These fuses are specifically designed for automotive systems that run up to 32 volts, occasionally 42 volts. They come in blade from a transparent plastic envelope with flat contacts and are color-coded according to rated current. Some of these types are also used in other high-power circuits. Reseatable fuses. A reseatable fuse or polymeric positive temperature coefficient device is a passive electronic component used to protect against overcurrent faults in electronic circuits. The device is also known as multi-fuse or polyfuse or polyswitch. Semiconductor fuses. The power dissipated by a semiconductor increases exponentially with current flow, and hence semiconductors are used for ultrafast fuses. These fuses are usually used to protect semiconductor switching devices that are sensitive to even small current spikes. Overvoltage suppression. Sometimes voltage spikes can be harmful to circuit too, and often an overvoltage protection device is used with a fuse to protect against the both voltage and current spikes. The other one categories of fuse is AC fuses. The AC fuses are categorized into two types. They are the low voltage fuses and the high voltage fuses. The frequency of the AC fuses changes its amplitude from 0 degree to 60 degree and vary 1 second. Thus, the arc extension in the AC circuit can be done easily as compared to the DC circuit. Let's start with the high voltage fuses. HRC or high rupture current fuses. HRC fuses are cartridge-type fuses consisting of a transparent envelope made of stay-tight magnesium silicate. The fuse is filled with quartz powder, and in the case of a liquid-filled HRC fuses, a non-conducted liquid like mineral oil that acts as an arc extinguishing agent. These fuses are used for very high fault currents. Expulsion fuses. These fuses are filled with chemicals like boric acid that produce gases on heating. These gases extinguish the arc and are expelled from the ends of the fuse. The fuse element is made of copper, tin, or silver. Cartridge fuse is the low voltage fuses. Cartridge fuses, they are very similar to cartridge DC fuses. They consist of a transparent envelope surrounding the fuse elements. They can be plugged in, blade type, or screwed into a fixture, bolt type. Drop-out fuses. They contain a spring-loaded lever arm that retracts when a fault occurs and must be rewired and put back in place to resume normal operation. They are a type of expulsion fuse. Rewirable fuses. They are a simple reusable fuse used in homes and offices. They consist of a carrier and a socket. When the fuse is blown, the carrier is taken out, rewired and put back in the socket to resume normal operation. They are somewhat less reliable than HRC fuses. Striker fuse. These fuses are provided with a spring-loaded striker that can act as a visual indicator that the fuse has blown and also activate other switchgear. Switch fuse. A handle that is manually operated can connect or disconnect high current fuses. This is all for the fuse. Let's move on. Circuit breaker. Circuit breaker is an automatically operated electrical switch designed to protect an electrical circuit from damage caused by overload of electricity or short circuit. A circuit breaker's function is to detect a fault condition and, by interrupting continuity, to immediately discontinue electrical flow. Circuit breaker divided into two categories: AC circuit breaker and DC circuit breaker. Under the DC circuit breaker is HVDC circuit breaker. In AC circuit breaker is high voltage circuit breaker and low voltage circuit breaker. In high voltage circuit breaker has two types: oil circuit breaker and oilless circuit breaker. In oil circuit breaker is bulk oil circuit breaker and low oil circuit breaker. In oilless circuit breaker categorized into four types: air brake circuit breaker, air blast circuit breaker, sulfur hexafluoride circuit breaker, and vacuum circuit breaker. There are three major types of circuit breaker, and this one is the standard circuit breaker, a simple circuit breaker that trips when a circuit overloads. This is the ground fault circuit interrupters. GFCI breakers look different from standard breakers. They have a test button along with the on-off switch. This is the arc fault circuit interrupters. AFCIs are similar to GFCIs. They protect against two different kinds of faults. In essence, AFCIs protect against fires, while GFCIs protect against shocks. In our household, some people use fuse and some people use circuit breaker. I think a lot of people use fuse because it is affordable. The cost is low. But when short circuit happened, the fuse will blow and it cannot be reused. The fuse used only once. We need to buy new one to back in normal operation. And the circuit breaker are costly, but it takes a long time to replace new circuit breaker. If we use circuit breaker and the short circuit happened, the breaker automatically trip off. So what we do is to off the breaker and on, then it will be back to normal. That's all. Thank you.